After my in-laws had been staying with us for 8 months, I asked them when they were planning to move out. My wife replied, "They're staying. If that's a problem, maybe you should be the one to leave." Her brother came down the stairs and said, "It's about time." That same night, I packed a bag and left. But before I left, I opened the safe in the closet. They didn't know I had reinstalled it. I never imagined my marriage would fall apart over something as simple as asking for a little space in my own home. But I suppose it always starts like that. Small cracks. Then you realize everything was broken inside. My name is Andres. I'm 39 years old. I've lived almost my entire adult life in Valencia. A quiet city, good neighbors, clean streets. I bought my house when I was 30. Years of construction work, odd jobs, saving every euro I could. The house wasn't anything special. About 130 square meters. 2 bedrooms. 1.5 bathrooms. But it was mine. Paid in full. No debt. No roommates. I lived a simple life. Paid my bills on time. Fixed what was broken. Lawn mowed. Roof in good condition. And then I met Clara. She was beautiful. I'm not going to lie. And smart too. Or at least I thought so. She worked in human resources at a dental clinic. We met at a friend's barbecue in Torrent. She laughed at my bad jokes, liked my silly cooking skills, and said she admired a man who could build a house with his own hands. We dated for 1.5 years before we got married. She moved in with me. And for a while, everything was good. We kept separate bank accounts. She offered to help with the groceries and bills. I didn't mind covering the mortgage. I'd been doing it anyway. The place started to feel like ours. We painted the bedroom, changed the rugs. She brought some life into the house. And then, last year, her mother lost her job. It all started like any other Tuesday. Clara came home early, looking worried. "My mom lost her job," she said. "She can't pay next month's rent." I nodded. "That's tough. What's she going to do?" Clara hesitated. "She could stay with us for a while. Just until she finds something. 2 months, tops." I didn't love the idea. I like my space. I like the quiet. But I understood. Family helps family. So I said, okay. Her mother moved in that same weekend. She brought more stuff than I expected. 5 boxes. A huge suitcase. And her cat. I wasn't thrilled, but I tried to be nice. Made room for her in the guest room. Put a towel in the bathroom. Even added her to the Wi-Fi. By week 3, she was still sleeping late, watching soap operas and not looking for work. I asked Clara about it. "She's stressed," she said. "Give her time." And then Ruben showed up. Her younger brother. 26 years old. He dropped out of college and was always chasing some half-baked dream. Last I heard, he was managing a local rapper. And suddenly, there he was on my couch with a duffel bag and a can of Red Bull. "He's just staying a couple of nights," Clara said. "He has nowhere else to go." That couple of nights turned into 8 months. He took over the basement. Said he needed space for his studio. This meant cables everywhere. Speakers thumping at 2 a.m. And a weird smell coming through the vents. He ate my food. Used my soap. Left his shoes in the hallway. Meanwhile, his mother treated the guest room like her private kingdom. Filled the kitchen with her vegan diet products. Constantly commented on how I folded laundry wrong. And left hair all over the bathroom. I asked Clara several times when they were planning to leave. "They're looking," she'd say. "It's tough right now." Tough. A cheap excuse. Ruben hadn't filled out a single job application. His mother spent more time on Facebook than a teenager. I was keeping track. I checked the electricity bill. It had doubled. Grocery costs tripled. I was supporting 4 adults on a single salary, and not one of them, not a single one, offered to contribute anything. One Friday night, after Ruben drank the last of my beer and left the refrigerator door open again, I lost it. We were sitting in the living room. His mother was upstairs doing yoga or something. Ruben was in the basement, looping the same beat for the third hour straight. I turned to Clara. When are they leaving? She looked up from her phone. Who? Your family. They've been here for 8 months. They don't pay rent. They don't clean. They don't help. When are they leaving? Her expression changed. Cold. Like someone had flipped a switch. They're staying, she said. I stared at her. For how long? As long as they need to. If that's a problem, she added, her eyes fixed on mine, maybe you should be the one to leave. I waited for the joke. It didn't come. Then Ruben came upstairs, leaned on the banister, arms crossed, and said, "It's about time." Like they'd been waiting for me to break. Like they'd rehearsed it. I felt something inside me snap. It wasn't anger. It wasn't sadness. It was done. I stood up and went upstairs. Clara didn't follow. Ruben didn't say anything else. I grabbed a duffel bag, 2 t-shirts, some jeans, socks, toothbrush, my laptop, my keys, and I opened the closet. Clara never knew I had a hidden safe. When we renovated the master bedroom last year, we took down one of the walls, and I reinstalled it myself, right behind a loose board in the closet. She thought I'd removed it. Inside were the deed to the house, in my name only. A USB drive with all my financial documents, including bank statements that showed how Clara had been siphoning money from our joint account into an account I didn't even know existed. Also, the prenuptial agreement, which she thought was a formality, but which I'd reviewed 6 months prior with my lawyer, Mr. Morales, and updated, with her tacit consent via email. And finally, 10,000 euros in cash I'd stashed away as emergency money. She didn't know it existed. I took it all. I didn't slam the door. I didn't leave a note. I drove to a cheap hostel off the A7 and spent the night watching the snow pile up outside the window. My phone buzzed nonstop with messages I didn't read. She never thought I'd leave. But I did. And she had no idea what was coming next. The next morning, I woke up to 30 unread messages. All Clara. Where are you? We can talk. You're being dramatic. Come back. You left the garage door opener. Not one apology. Not one explanation. Not even a fake excuse to pretend she was sorry. Just control. More of the same. I ignored her. Instead, I called my lawyer, Mr. Morales. A serious guy. He handled the closing on my house. Also helped me with the prenup. Are you ready to file? He asked. Yes, I replied. And I want her out of my house. Mr. Morales didn't waste any time. By Monday, the papers were served. Clara tried calling me again and again. When I didn't answer, she sent her mother after me. I got an email from Alicia saying I was being childish and abandoning my family responsibilities. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I let the documents speak for themselves. The house was mine. Clara's name was never on it. She never paid a single euro. The agreement was ironclad. She wasn't even entitled to alimony. I gave her a week to leave. 7 days. And that's when the real game began. On day 2, Ruben posted an Instagram story. A picture of him posing defiantly at the camera. Caption: Ostanunka. That was a mistake. What Ruben didn't know was that I still had remote access to the Nest cameras in the house, including the basement. I logged into the system and watched him laughing on the couch, trash-talking me, bragging about how he was the king of the castle now. Then I saw him light something with a weird smell right next to the water heater. A fire hazard. I screen recorded it and sent the video to my insurance agent, and then to the police. Then I called Mr. Morales. On Friday, a court officer showed up at the house with a formal notice. They had 72 hours to vacate or be legally evicted. Ruben filmed himself yelling at the officers and posted it online. Another mistake. That video was now public evidence of his behavior, and we presented it to the judge in the case. Meanwhile, I stayed silent. Quiet. Working remotely from a long-stay hostel. eating gas station sandwiches. Just waiting. On day 6, Clara finally left me a voicemail. Different this time. Her voice was shaking. She wasn't angry. She was scared. Andres, please call me. I didn't know you were going to actually file. I thought you were just mad. Can we talk? Please? Too late. I wasn't mad. I was focused. Because what she didn't know was that there was more on that USB drive. Much more. Yes, Clara had been moving money from our joint account. I knew that already. But what I didn't expect to find was that she was also sending small transfers every few weeks to a man named Sergio Navarro. I didn't know who he was, so I looked him up. Instagram private, but Twitter public. Guess what he posted 2 months ago? A picture of my garden. Exactly mine. Caption, back to my favorite hideaway. I stared at that post for a long time. Then I checked the call logs. She'd been calling him during lunch breaks. At night. Once at 1:34 a.m. My hands were shaking. I sent the evidence to Mr. Morales. This changes everything, he said. And in a big way. I didn't tell Clara I knew. Not yet. Because now it wasn't just about the house. Now it was about the truth. And I wasn't finished. And while I sat silently in that hostel, putting all the pieces together, she kept trying to call me, as if it was all a misunderstanding. I didn't answer. I was working on something else. I have a friend named Oscar. We went to trade school together years ago. Now he works in cybersecurity for a firm in Madrid. Good guy. Owed me a favor. So I called him. I need help retrieving phone backups and cloud data, I said. He didn't ask questions. I gave him access to an old iCloud account we used when we shared an iPad. She never changed the password. In less than 2 hours, I had backups of her messages. Photos. Emails. Everything. And what I found turned my stomach. She'd been talking to Sergio Navarro for over a year. A whole year. It wasn't just harmless flirting. There were messages from the same day I was fixing the sink, saying, "Wish you were here." There were photos. Nothing explicit, but intimate enough. One was taken in our bed while I was away last October, working on a roof in Zaragoza. And the worst part? She was mocking me. Screenshots of our conversations that she sent to him with comments like, "He's being dramatic again." I swear I'd give him a piece of my mind. If he ever leaves, I won't shed a tear. That was the same week I brought her flowers. On a Tuesday. Just because she said she was feeling down. It was all a lie. And then I saw something else. Sergio wasn't just some guy. He was her coworker. He worked in the IT department of her dental clinic. That's how they met. And then I found a calendar invite buried in her emails. Title: Team Building Weekend, Valencia Conference. I remembered that trip. She told me it was mandatory. Just 2 days. She came back tired. Said it was boring. Now I knew she'd spent 2 nights in a hotel suite with Sergio on the company's dime. I called Mr. Morales again. "Can we include this in the divorce proceedings?" I asked. He paused. "If you have proof." And you do. "We can allege misconduct and intent. It will change the outcome." I nodded. "Do it." That weekend, I drove by the house. Stayed in the car across the street. The lights were on. Ruben's car was gone. Finally, there was a moving truck parked in the driveway. They were leaving. And just as I was about to drive away, Clara stepped out the front door. She didn't look like herself. Hair in a messy bun. Sweatshirt. No makeup. Pale. Stressed. She stood there for a minute, looking out, like she expected me to be watching. Then she pulled out her phone. A few seconds later, I got the message. "We're leaving. Hope you're happy." I didn't reply. Instead, I waited for the truck to drive away, and then I drove straight to the front door. Everything was silent. I unlocked the door and stepped back into my house. Everything smelled different. The fake vanilla candles were gone. Her plants. Her mugs. Her random clutter. All gone. I walked through the rooms in silence. It felt cold, empty, but it also felt good. Then I checked the bedroom. She hadn't taken everything. There was a small plastic container left in the closet, probably forgotten. Inside were old cards, receipts, a shoebox full of photos, and a second USB drive. Out of curiosity, I plugged it in. There were videos, security camera footage. Clara must have downloaded them before I cut off her Nest access. And what I saw next flipped the whole story. In one clip, there was Ruben, in my office, late at night, copying files from my laptop onto a USB drive in his hand. In another, he was walking into the master bedroom with Clara while I was away. They weren't kissing, they weren't touching, but they were whispering. And he handed her something. A key. That night wasn't just betrayal. It was a plan. I stared at the screen for over an hour. That moment between Clara and Ruben, my wife and her own brother, seared itself into my mind. I replayed it over and over. It wasn't just whispers. It was conspiracy. She took the key from his hands, looked directly at the bedroom camera, and smiled. The worst part? That footage was from 2 weeks before she told me to leave. It all clicked. They were pushing me out. I'd been their ATM, their free landlord. And the moment I started asking questions, they decided it would be easier to erase me. I took a deep breath, sat up straight, and looked around. This wasn't going to be a clean divorce. This was a silent battle. I sent the new footage to Mr. Morales. In less than a day, he'd filed an emergency motion with the court. I didn't just have proof of infidelity. Now I had proof of what looked like coordinated manipulation and possible theft of private data. Why? Guess what? The USB drive Ruben used contained sensitive client files, material under NDA, project proposals, stuff I wasn't even supposed to store locally. In the wrong hands, it could have cost me future contracts. I filed a report with the police. Identity theft. Unauthorized access to private documents. Ruben wasn't just messing around in my house. He committed a crime. Meanwhile, I was playing the long game. I contacted Clara's actual boss. Not Sergio. The other one. I sent him the footage, the messages, the financial transactions that matched up with work trips. A week later, I got a one-word reply. Resolved. She was fired. No severance. Sergio too. Apparently, she wasn't the only one breaking the rules. He'd also been using company tech for personal file transfers. They called it a serious breach of internal policy. A friend told me they were escorted out in front of the whole office. Then it was Ruben's turn. A few months back, Ruben had applied for unemployment benefits. Claimed he was out of work. Claimed he was living with a relative who supported him financially. Well, that was true. And also illegal. Because while he was collecting benefits, he was also receiving money from Clara's secret transfers. And he also had a side hustle selling studio equipment he'd bought with my money. I found the listings on Facebook Marketplace under a fake name that I traced back to his Bizum account. I sent the details to the Ministry of Labor. Within weeks, Ruben was being investigated for fraud. His accounts were frozen. He was ordered to repay everything he collected, and he was fined. Total, 11,000 euros. The house was still mine. The judge ruled in my favor. She had no claim to it. No demonstrable contribution. No shared equity. I kept the car, the furniture, everything. She left with whatever fit in her suitcase. Mr. Morales asked if I wanted to pursue damages. As the wronged spouse, I said yes. Not for the money, but for the record. We won. She owed me 17,000 euros in legal fees and damages for misuse of shared funds and for damaging shared funds. She didn't have that money. Still doesn't. Now, they garnish a portion of her wages every month. After that, I kept everything quiet. Went back to work. Paid Mr. Morales. Started therapy. I needed to. The lies. The manipulation. the gaslighting. It all left a mark. But I didn't become bitter. I stayed focused. A few months after everything was resolved, I got an email from Clara. One sentence. I never thought you'd actually go through with it. I didn't reply. A year later, I heard Ruben moved back in with his father in Seville. His studio shut down when the state revoked his license. He still owes the restitution. Clara, last I heard, works at the front desk of a spa. Minimum wage. No benefits. I drive by that place sometimes. Not to gloat. Just to remind myself how far I've come. I've started dating again. Slowly. Took my time to trust again. Adopted a dog. Repainted the house. Took a trip to the Pyrenees. Something I always wanted to do, but never could while she was around. The bedroom where they plotted against me is now an office. My space. My rules. I don't blame myself anymore. I just remember this. I gave them kindness and they gave me betrayal. I gave them a home and they tried to take it away. But in the end, I was the one who stayed. And they lost everything. And they will never set foot in my house again. Final update. Responding to comments. I've read your comments. Not all of them, but too many. Some thanked me for sharing. For saying what many experience in silence. Others said I was cold. That I overreacted. That I'm a narcissist. A control freak. A coward for not fighting for my marriage. Some asked if it felt powerful to leave a woman homeless. Or to report her brother. Someone even wrote, "You're just as manipulative as they are, only quieter." And you know what? I'm not going to justify myself. But I do want you to know what it feels like to be on the other side. I spent years thinking love was compromise, even when it hurt. Thinking that if I just held on a little longer, things would go back to the way they were. That if I did everything right, paid, kept quiet, endured, that would be enough. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I didn't throw things across the room. I just observed. And apparently, for some, that's also condemnable. But what no one sees, what doesn't show up in the recordings or the messages, is what hurts inside. What it's like to wake up next to someone who looks at you like you're a piece of furniture. What it's like to share a house with people who talk about you like you're not there. What it's like to open a door and realize you don't belong in your own home. You want to know what really broke me? It wasn't the infidelity, or the scam, or even seeing my name slowly erased from the decisions in my own life. It was the silence. The way everyone acted like I didn't have a right to be upset. Like me being hurt was an inconvenience to them. Like the only thing they expected from me was obedience and stability. All I did was leave. Set boundaries. Say enough. Without raising my voice. And for that, you judge me. Okay. So be it. But I sleep soundly tonight. With my dog. In my house. Without having to pretend I don't see what's destroying me.